Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be my October Shop My Shadows update, and this is a series that I am doing here on my channel this year, and my goal is to rotate through my entire eyeshadow collection and use all of my eyeshadows at least once during this year, so that in 2020 I have decluttered those eyeshadows that I really dislike and I don't have unused eyeshadows anymore in my collection. Today I'm going to update you on the eyeshadows I have been using in October, and I'm going to show you which eyeshadows I will be using in November. Honestly, I'm kinda like starting to wait for the next year and I want this project to be over. I do have some panning projects for next year. I'm also doing a little bit of panning right now, but not so much that I couldn't rotate through my collection. But I'm kind of like starting to wait for my next year's panning projects. But there's still 2 months to go and I do have some really nice eyeshadows still to rotate through. So let's start with the eyeshadows I have been using in October. So first, of course, as always, my Baby Panda palette. This is the BH Cosmetics Neutral Eyes to Go, and I filmed an update for this in October just a week or two ago, so I will link the update down below if you want to hear more my thoughts about this one and if you want to see the progress. Then I had some loose eyeshadows in my rotation in October. So these are loose eyeshadows from Brija Cosmetics and they are from the Boy Who Lived collection. So the collection is inspired by Harry Potter, and all of these eyeshadows are inspired by a certain character. So yeah, I think it's a fun collection, but as I have told you previously, in future I don't want to buy makeup that is themed like this unless it's something I'm really going to use, and loose eyeshadows are not something I really want to use. I mean, I most of the times like the result when I do apply them, but it's just more work and effort to use them. They are more messy. I need to do glitter primer, so it's not my first pick. But anyways, I do have 5 eyeshadows from this collection. I am going to keep all of these for now and I will try to pan these later on, but I think it's going to take a while to finish up one loose eyeshadow. But let's go through this. Let's go from the lightest one to the deepest one. I'm trying to go in that kind of order. So first is You Know Who. So yeah, this is inspired by You Know Who, so by Voldemort. This one is actually a face highlighter, so you can purchase it in a bigger jar, or then if you want to, you can purchase it in a jar that is the same size than the eyeshadows, and that's what I have done. So this one is like a white color, and I actually did wear this in my 19 in 2019 Project Pan finale. In my eye look I wore this in my inner corner, but then I also wore it as face highlighter, and I think it's a pretty color. It is like white color, but I don't just like to, you know, pick my face highlighter from a jar this small, because I do use a fan brush and it just doesn't really work out. But I think this one is a beautiful inner corner highlighter, so that is what it looks like. I think it's really pretty. Okay, the next eyeshadow from this collection is called Scared Potter, and this one is inspired by Draco Malfoy, and this one I picked to my Fellowship of the Pan Project Pan. And I picked this one for Legolas because this is a green eyeshadow and I had to pick something green for Legolas. This is a really interesting warm light green and I actually do really like this eyeshadow. I think it's kind of like a natural type of color, if you can say that. I really think this reminds of nature, this soft, light, warm green color, so I do really enjoy it and I hope I can make some progress on this eyeshadow during the Fellowship of the Pan. Then the next eyeshadow from this collection is called Phoenix Tears. So this one is like a really beautiful orange eyeshadow, and this is actually pretty unique to my collection. I do have plenty of oranges and other warm toned eyeshadows, but I think that the most of the orange eyeshadows I do have in palettes are matte, and this one is shimmery. So this is what it looks like. I think it's really beautiful. I wore this on my Roulette Pan collab update video. Then the next eyeshadow from this collection is Shouldn't Have Shade That, and this is of course inspired by Hagrid. And this one is like a deep, it's kind of neutral toned, deep shimmery brown. This one I did wear in the Fellowship of the Pan intro video all over my lid. And the look was quite smoky. Then I did wear like a green eyeshadow from another palette that I will have coming in my crease. But I do think this is a beautiful brown. Most of the times I just don't wear something this smoky all over my lid, but I did enjoy the look. And the last eyeshadow I do have from this collection is called Page 394, and this one is of course inspired by Severus Snape, who is one of my favorite characters from Harry Potter. My absolute favorite is Bellatrix Lestrange, but after her I think Snape is my favorite, and Snape is my favorite from The Good Guys. However, this eyeshadow is my least favorite from this, and I was almost thinking of decluttering this one because I rarely wear this kind of eyeshadows. I actually did wear this on my lid in my 19 in 2019 Project Pan finale, but it's so rare. This is like a deep kind of like gunmetal shade. So I am going to keep all 5 of these eyeshadows from this collection, and I need to think about way for me to pan them or get progress on them. Okay, then I did have 2 eyeshadow palettes in my rotation for October. First one being this ColourPop and Amanda Steele eyeshadow palette, Weekend Warrior, and I already told in my September Shop My Shadows update that I'm most likely going to declutter this one, and that's right, I am going to declutter this palette. I do regret that I have bought it because it's really not my thing. So this is what it looks like. Honestly, I almost wanted to depot it and keep a couple of the eyeshadows. So this lighter grey, because I do not have other like perfect light grey matte eyeshadow in my collection, but this one. But then again, I do have greys that I can wear, and I don't wear that often grey eyeshadow, and I do have light enough greys that I don't need this one. And then I kind of wanted to keep this deep green eyeshadow. This is the one I was wearing with the Hagrid eyeshadow from the Boy Who Lived collection. The reason I decided not to depot this is simply that I don't have room in my C palette. It's so full. I can actually show it to you. So this is what my C palette looks like right now. So this larger eyeshadow over here is from Essence, and it was in my rotation in September, and it's an Essence mono eyeshadow, so it was in a single compact, and I wanted to depot it, and thankfully I was able to depot it in one piece. But there is no more room in this palette, and I don't want to get another C palette, so I decided to declutter this palette from ColourPop. I don't really like it. I think you can create a look using only 4 colors, and you can create a look using only this palette, but I really wouldn't. I don't like how these colors would look together. And you know, it's not that I don't like cooler toned eyeshadows. I do like for example, I do have the Urban Decay Naked Smoky palette. That is one of my favorite palettes, and I'm really tempted by the ColourPop Smoke Show palette. I mean, that one is so far the most tempting product during my Nova year that has launched. The point is not that I don't like cooler tones, like here, I just don't like the combination, and I don't like that it's so bulky for only 4 eyeshadows. So yeah, this one is going to go from my collection. And then last but not least, my main eyeshadow palette in October was this Jeffree Star Cosmetics Androgyny eyeshadow palette, and this is what I'm wearing today. I'm also wearing glitter eyeliner a little bit in my crease, but this is what the palette looks like, and I will say that I do really much enjoy this palette. I think it's so interesting that even though there's only 10 eyeshadows in this palette, you can come up with so many different looks. I really don't have anything quite as versatile in such a small amount of eyeshadows in my collection. I think you can do something like blue and really cool tones, you can do something really neutral, you can do something really warm, or there's just plenty of options, and I must say that the formula is also great. There's two metallic eyeshadows, then this red is actually a satin, but I most of the times wear it as a matte, so I will put it to my crease. That's what I have done today, and I don't think it looks shimmery at all. Then the rest of the eyeshadows are matte, and I do think this is a great palette. Most of the times the palettes Jeffree puts out, they are not really my thing. The color stories are just, well, I'm somebody who prefers neutral eyeshadow and I like pop of color, but most of the times I'm just not into the color stories he puts out. I will say that now that I'm filming, I have not yet seen what the Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson eyeshadow palette is going to look like. I mean, I'm interested of seeing that. But anyways, most of the color stories in Jeffree's palettes are just not my cup of tea, but I really do enjoy this one. I think this is a really beautiful fall palette. Something I will say about the formula is that these are really powdery eyeshadows, so I would say they are the same level than the Anastasia eyeshadows. Well, I have only the Anastasia Modern Renaissance, but these are definitely as powdery than those eyeshadows. But I also think that the pigmentation is great, and these eyeshadows, they are so blendable. Even though they are really pigmented, they are so blendable, and you can easily just like do a look using only this palette and they blend together beautifully, and you don't kind of like need to have a million transition shades and crease shades. I find that can be the case with sometimes with some palettes, but these, they just blend out together so well. So yes, this palette I am going to keep. I do really enjoy it, although I will say it's not something I would really wear other than in fall time. But yeah, I'm going to keep it. I do like the palette. Okay, then let's quickly go through the eyeshadows I will be using in November. So I do have 3 single eyeshadows, and these are all from the Fellowship collection from Geek, Chic Cosmetics. And all of these 3 I also wrote into the Fellowship of the Pan Project Pan, of course, so I would be using these anyways. But these have not yet been part of my rotation this year, so November will be the month. But I know I will be using these for the next few months. But yeah, I do have 3 eyeshadows. One is a gold, one is kind of like a vanilla-ish type of shade, and then one is a deeper brown. Then again in November I do have in my rotation a side eyeshadow palette and a main eyeshadow palette. So let's start with the side eyeshadow palette. This one is one of the oldest palettes in my collection. I have possibly gotten this in 2015. I'm not completely sure, but I think I got it back then. So this is the e.l.f. Prism eyeshadow palette, and it is in the shade Naked. They did have, I think, 3 different color stories. One was Sunset, that was kind of like a purples and oranges. One was Smoke, so that was cooler tones, and then this one is just like a really neutral palette. I mean, it looks kind of like monochromatic, but I will say that there is surprisingly much variety still in this palette. All of these eyeshadows are shimmery. These 2 lighter ones are clearly highlighters, and the rest of the eyeshadows are more like lid shades. I think these 2, this 4th and this 5th eyeshadow, they are quite similar, honestly. But other than that, I think there's quite much variety what comes to the tones and the depths of the shadows. And I do really much enjoy this palette. It's just starting to be pretty old. I think this might be something that I would consider panning, but because this is so small and this is something that I couldn't create complete look from it, I think it would be a baby panda palette for me. So this is going to be my side eyeshadow palette for the month of November, and my main palette will be this Revolution Reloaded Iconic Division palette. This one is actually my only palette from Revolution. I don't have that much makeup from them. I mean, I do have the concealer and I do have one lipstick, and then I do have this. I think that's all. This one is duping the ABH Shop Color, but this one has 15 shades and Shop Color has 14 shades, and I don't even know what the extra shade is, but it's the same color story. I have not used this a lot, and I'm not even sure if I have used all of the colors. This is something I bought last year. I do think the color story is really pretty, or I don't know if I can even say that it's pretty. I mean, it's unique and interesting type of color story. What I do know is that the shimmers, they are like really bad. This one is shimmery over here, then these two, and they are horrible. But the mattes, if I remember correctly, they do perform okay, and if I do like how they perform, and if I can like use them together so that it's not a lot of blending issues, I think I'm going to keep this, even though I do really hate the shimmers. But yeah, we'll see. I have not used this palette that much, and I think this color story will go so well in November, because November is kind of like the deepest time of fall, like holiday season is not yet here, and it's just like so dark and grey. There's not snow here where I live. In the north it can be a little bit of snow, but here where I live it's not even snow and it's just grey, and I don't know, I think this palette has kind of like crunchy vibes, and I think it will go in November. Okay, so that was everything for today. 2 more months left of this year and me rotating through my collection. Thank you for watching this video and see you in my next one. Bye bye.